wondering what the number one thing to get us through this build is? Energy drinks.
So we are continuing on again with the van build. We're getting absolutely loads done now that we've come into 2025 and we are hitting the ground running. You'll have seen in the last video in 2024 that we'd finished off the year with doing the partition and getting the units built. You'll have also seen the absolute tragedy of us breaking our oven, or at least the clean up part of it anyway. So we are continuing on with the van build, but there's a catch. We're under a time constraint, or time limit. We have a big trip planned at the end of March. We're going to try and do the Wide Atlantic Way.
So with our deadline looming, there's a couple of things that we have to do to get the van ready on time. So, are we going to be able to make our deadline? Well, make sure you subscribe and find out.
So because of the oven breaking, we've had to alter our plans ever so slightly. The plan was to continue along this side and build it out and also build a seating area, which would have done all of our storage. But because of the oven building and now we're not just too sure where we're going to go from there, size-wise and lengthwise, we're going to pause on this side. We have sort of a temporary setup, as you can see here now. We've got an offcut of countertop, so that'll make that big enough for us to actually use for now. So that's sort of the temporary setup for right now. Over here, we're going to finish up this with the countertop. We're going to make some doors at some point. And then our sink is on the way as well, so that will be coming up in this video as well. We'll put our sink in. Then what we're going to do as of right now is we're going to frame out this window, and then we might try and get a bit of the cladding on here and up here, and then that might actually finish off a section of the van, because it would really be good if we could actually have just something that's actually a little bit finished. So we're going to start with tinting the windows. So I've already started. I've removed the old sort of frosted tint from the window. I've cleaned the window, and now we're going to attempt to put on some new darker tint. So the new tint that we have is 15%, and I'm hoping that plus the windows are a wee bit tinted should give us plenty of privacy. So if you sort of see it now, and then it's slippery as anything. So it is, and then if you hold the camera up to the tint, yeah, should give you a rough idea. So this start of this year is going brilliantly. So first of all, we had our oven, which we broke. That was our fault. And then as I started tinting this window, we've discovered that the roll of window tint we've gotten has imperfections in it. So you probably not see this on camera, but every, I would say, 7-8 inches is a crease, 2 creases right in the middle. So that's going to have to get returned. But on the bright side, at least we got one window out of it, which is the main window or main side that we're focusing on. So yeah, bit of a disaster to the start of the year. So one of the things we're going to do in preparation for what's coming up most likely in the next video is running cables. So we need to run a cable from the starter battery, the van battery, into the back of the van. But we need to know what cable size. So I have some cable left over from other things, and I want to make sure that the cable that I have is going to be the right size. So to get your cable size, your cable will have to be thicker depending on how many volts you're pulling and how many amps you're pulling, and the distance. So the further away you are, the thicker the cable, and the closer you are, the thinner your cable can be, but again depending on how many volts and amps you're drawing. So I'm going to go online and use a cable size calculator to see what size of cable it says I'm going to need to go from the front of the van to where the batteries are. What I'm going to do now is drill the hole through the service areas that we've put into the van. So behind the bathroom at the very back of the wall is a service area for pipe and for electric cables, and then going in behind the kitchen and then into the partition. What I'm doing now is I am screwing on a bit of batting so I have something to attach the cladding for around the window frame. So what we've done is we have made up a wee window frame to put in place. We've just used it out of strip plywood, and then we are going to glue it onto the metal brackets that are already there that were for the old window frame.
You can really start to see the kitchen area coming together now. Very exciting for me because this is going to be my main area in the van because I do all the cooking.
So our sink has finally arrived, but there is a small problem with it. We've already opened this to sort of have a look at it, and
Hold up, right, so from the outside, I think it looks pretty good. So it looks pristine, nice and shiny, but then show them the imperfection that we found.
well, Tony first of all thought it was painted, but it's actually a protective coating. But this is a pretty big issue. There's a big dent in it, so there is. So I'm going to see if I can flatten that out, because otherwise I'll never be able to install it properly. Oh, it's actually straightening out okay. There we go, there we go.
Now we're cooking with gas. Or not, because we broke the cooker. I say we broke the cooker. Also earlier in this video you might have heard Stephen saying that we broke the cooker, that was our own fault. That wasn't necessarily a two-man job.
It was a two-man job! It only took one man to break it, like, but it was definitely a two-man job. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just have to buy a new one. Somehow, with some sort of money that we're getting for doing all this. Watch and subscribe to our channel. Please help us fund this. It's not going to be perfect, but now to be fair,
Nothing in the van is.
Cheeky. No, what I was going to say is, to be fair, this sink was only £24 or something like that. So I think for £24 I would let that slide, because every other sink we were looking at, I think the cheapest one we were looking at was maybe nearly 50 quid. So for the sake of, and that was without any fittings. At least with this one you get all the waste fittings, which, and plumbing is something that I can do a lot of things. Plumbing just isn't one of them. Just for some reason, just plumbing doesn't compute for me. It's like a foreign language or something. It didn't make any sense, but I'm going with it. That's sort of what we're thinking there then, yeah?
Yeah.
Alright. So what I need to do is I need to make a template for that to fit into. So I'm thinking of using, we're happy with that dent out of it then, yeah?
Yeah, it looks a lot better.
Yeah. I think I will make that work. And then what I'll do is whenever I go to glue it down, I'll clamp it down really well, or I'll try to anyway.
So we're working out if this goes here. The thing that I'm thinking of in my mind, yes, we have enough space here, which I'm perfectly happy with, and it gives me more counter space here because I'm going to be, let's be honest, I'll be doing the dishes and doing the cooking. I think it's fair to say. Where are we going to put the top? It's going to look odd that it's not coming from this side and that side. Do we put it in the middle then?
What do you mean, sorry?
So we're going to have to put a separate top.
Yeah.
Where do we put it? It's basically what I'm trying to work out. Because obviously it's not going to be able to drill into this. It's going to have to be in the actual counter coming out.
Yeah. But that's it exactly. It'll have to be in the counter, so probably in that top right.
So like diagonal heading in.
Sort of, yeah.
Right. Well, I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I think we can work with that, and I think gives us enough space here. Gives us an extra little bit of counter space here, and lots of prep space here with our dishes and everything to dry out.
It's more so just to make it look right. That's the only reason why it's spaced a wee bit off it.
I still think there's quite a lot of space here. I know you're not thinking there was as much space, but I still think this is, for what we're going to use it for, I still think this is quite good.
Well, you'll also have a bit of space on this side here as well. Eventually. So we already accepted this fate after the oven broke. We're going to have to redo the units on this side anyway. It is added expense coming out of the budget, but it is what it is at this point. So what I'm thinking is we make we're going to lose a wee bit of storage in the units, but we're going to maybe put a fridge in, and then our oven, and then fall over, and then our seat. So we're going to have maybe our seat here, and then this seat's going to turn round, and then magic for the rest of it essentially. We could put a fridge in the partition, so to the left of where you're standing, in the middle, or there where you're standing now. You'll still get a countertop on top of it, but it'll really be no different, only instead of storage you'll have a fridge.
So instead of the oven going here, are we moving it here?
No, the oven still will be closest to the door for ventilation and all
so
that.
just the fridge is just going to be here beside the oven basically?
Pretty much, yeah. We'll have our fridge closest to the bed, drawers maybe underneath the bed, opening into the living area. Our oven beside the door, because eventually we'll replace this window with a window that has windows that open, sort of idea, and then it keeps it close to the vent, the skylight, and the fan. So it keeps it in an area of ventilation. With being gas, that's what we want it, as close to as much ventilation as possible.
So by far, one of the hardest things that we had to do in the build was cutting the hole for the sink. It was a difficult cut, and it took Stephen a couple of tries to try and get the sink flush with the countertop. Because the fan's mostly bespoke, the countertop's already cut the size. Messing up at this point in the build would mean we needed a brand new countertop out of the budget.
So when we cut out the hole for the sink, we didn't realise that the overflow was so high up, and it doesn't actually clear the countertop, the thickness of the countertop. So I'm going to attempt to cut out a notch for the overflow to go onto. Otherwise we're going to have to get a new sink and a new countertop.
The pressure was mounting to get this cut right, and we really couldn't afford to mess this up.
Looks good so far.
Ooh, we actually do it.
I think I might have just got lucky there. Sorry. My amazing woodworking skills is what got me lucky. That didn't sound right either.
They're not that good.
What?
They're not that good.
That might work. So it might.
Hope to God.
Will we go inside now where it's a bit warmer?
Yeah.
We had a bit of drama there. Some shouting was going on as I was getting stressed out. So I've been able to cut a notch out of the countertop to allow for the overflow, and I've been able to get it fitted, think. Not really know until we put water in it and test it. But I think we'll just stick with it and maybe just not fill it up that much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mask up the countertop so that we can stick the sink in and Sikaflex it down to the countertop. So the masking tape around it is so that whenever it splooges out, it doesn't make a mess of everything. Splooge.
Did you think this would be how you'd be spending your birthday?
Right enough. Yeah, actually, I had a fair idea as how I was going to spend my birthday. But maybe my next birthday we can spend somewhere nice and warm instead of out in the freezing cold fighting with wood.
So this is where we announced next year we're going to Iceland. I would love that. I would actually love that. Stephen, probably not so much.
So we have the sink fitted. As you've seen, that was a wee bit of a disaster. We didn't know about the overflow, having to cut bits out of the countertop, but I think I've got it so it'll work. So that's where we're going to leave this video, but we have a lot more coming in the next video. We have a big upgrade to our power supply, which is coming very, very shortly. You'll have seen we've already ran a cable for it, and that's really exciting because that will make us off-grid for much, much longer.
So if you want to see if we make the trip, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.